Now then, welcome back, Saddos, to another episode of the Sitcom Archive Deep Dive Overdrive with me, Benedict.
And me, Alison Barton Simmons. Oh, that was very excitable then, weren't it?
You were very excitable, yeah. Well, we're onto the second series of Dear John now. We just finished the first series of Dear John, and we're now starting the second series. So this episode was broadcast in 1987 on September the 7th. And it's the first one of Series 1, and its name is A New Member. Al, are you excited for this one?
I am. I've got a bit of info to fill in from the last episode.
Oh, go ahead then.
Do you remember how we said that the ratings dropped slightly with the final episode of the first series, and we were really surprised because you think that people would want to find out how the series ended?
Yeah.
I did a quick check, and it was actually broadcast on Easter Sunday in 1986, which is a bank holiday. And it was on 15 minutes earlier than it would have normally been on. So I think it probably, obviously now, if you want to check what time a TV show's going to be on, you just Google it, don't you? You can just find out in a couple of seconds. But if you'd have sat down at 8:30 on Easter Monday in 1986, nope, halfway through already.
Well, you might not even have known it was the season finale because that type of stuff, like you say, the internet didn't exist. Yeah. Unless you had your Radio Times. And it said so in the Radio Times, and you got your highlighter pen out to show. Did you used to do that?
I'd have had it circled, me.
Yeah.
I'd have had it. Yeah, I still do it at Christmas.
Did you have a highlighter pen that was different than your sister's highlighter pen so that you could differentiate between what you both
Who was going to watch what? I think I probably
Yeah.
just had a biro. I don't think I was allowed highlighters.
I had a green one, she had a pink one or something.
Yeah.
And then occasionally we'd both highlight the same show that we were interested in. But if there was something on, but this is talking about the early 90s. If there's something on 3 channels, then it was a discussion to have, wasn't it? Because you'd only be able to video record one of them.
Record one?
And watch the other one.
Watch the other, yeah.
Yeah, so, pistols at dawn situation.
Yep. So that was just wanted to clear that up from last week as to why perhaps the ratings fell.
Well, the ratings fell for this one as well. This one we're about to deep dive, A New Member. It only had 8.6 million viewers.
Oh, that's a big jump down. Big drop down? Not a jump. Big fall down.
Big fall down.
A collapse. A collapse of viewers.
Yeah, I think there was some drama that was quite good on the other side with Timothy Dalton and Joan what's her name?
Collins?
Yes, that's the one. Joan.
Oh, that'd do it, yeah.
I was going to say Joan Sanderson. What?
What?
What? Yeah, so everyone was watching that, I think. So this one only... I mean, it did creep up as Series 2 went on. But this one only 8.6 million. But nevertheless, you will enjoy it.
Yes, you will.
I think the other thing we should probably say before we get stuck into this episode is that since we last recorded an episode a few weeks ago, because I've been on holiday,
yes,
Anna Karen from On the Buses has died.
Oh.
Linda Barron from Open All Hours has died, and World War III has broken out.
Yeah, and I don't think we're guilty of any of those. We've not.
I'm superstitious. I think we should try and make sure that we don't miss any more, just in case. Because you never know.
I know.
Putin might have been preoccupied waiting for this podcast to come out.
I think he probably is.
I like the Fawlty Towers. It's very, very funny. He's not so much into Dear John.
You sounded like Count Von Count from Sesame Street.
That's what it is, isn't it? They probably don't have Dear John letters in Russia.
No.
Probably Dear Oleg. And it's like
that's it.
We'll put a nerve agent in your underpants. And that'll be the end of the relationship.
Just one episode, that's it. That's
it, yeah. Not to make light of the situation, obviously it's awful, but we're going to try and not push our luck by missing any more. We'll do all of them in a row now. I've got a quiz for you before we get stuck in as well. Oh no, the other thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've got so much information to impart.
I like this.
People have been watching Dear John on Forces TV.
Yeah.
I just thought some people might be interested to know, if they didn't already, that if you have Forces TV, they're now showing Sorry as well and Watching.
Really? That's very interesting. I didn't know about Watching.
Yeah. So you'll be watching that, won't you?
I'll be watching, I think, yeah.
Can you get Forces TV?
I think we can, yeah. I think it's like right at the arse end of the other channels. But I think it's on there.
What about Sorry? Were you into Sorry? You going to watch that?
Not so much.
It had a brilliant theme tune.
It did, didn't it? It was like proper
really funky.
Wah funky guitar, weren't it?
Matt Berry, who did that album of theme tune covers, like The Good Life was on it, and Rainbow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the best one on that album, I suppose technically we're reviewing it by talking about it, so I could probably drop a little bit of it into the episode.
Yeah.
It's ace. You should check out Matt Berry's theme tune album.
It's such a good album, isn't it? It pops up every so often on my Spotify list.
Yeah.
And I forget it's there. And if it's on, like, just random, one of them will just pop up. And it's like always a joy. Makes me skip.
Imagine you're like on the train and someone's like, "Oh, what are you listening to? You look like you're enjoying yourself."
Theme tune from Sorry.
Wicka wow. Sorry. So there you go. I thought I'd just put that tip out there. Forces TV's got some great old British comedy on it at the moment. They've previously had shows like Shelley on as well, which I really like.
That I don't know. It gives me a bit of a creepy feeling, Shelley, and I don't know why.
Is that Hal Bennett specifically gives you the creepy feeling?
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, he is a very intense looking.
I think that's what it is. He just gives me a bit of a
dude, doesn't he?
Feeling.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. He also had a very I don't know what the right adjective would be, but he had a voice that went right through you. Do you know what I mean?
It could be that.
Yeah. Quite an intimidating guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to bump into him in a dark alley. Anyway, right, okay, so I've got a game for you.
Okay.
I've got a game for you to play.
Brilliant.
Run the theme tune. Brucey's back with another higher or lower, based this time on Cameo prices. Washed up stars selling messages from themselves, signifying midlife crises. Da, 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 da.
I like it.
Right, so do you get the idea? What
we're
going to do?
I think so, yeah, I think so.
I will start off with one and give you one. Give you a comedy actor
Yes.
of yesteryear and tell you how much they're charging on Cameo or, what is it, one Memo, something like that. And then I'll tell you the next one is, and you'll have to say whether it's I am a lamb or lower.
Right.
All right, my love?
I can do that.
So we'll start off with John Cleese, who we already discussed, I think, in Series 2.
Yes.
He charges, or rather he did, he's not on there at the moment, presumably because he's busy making documentaries about woke culture or some shit. He really is Basil Fawlty these days. He was charging at least 250 quid a throw for a video where he would abuse you.
That's
if you
pricey,
come for an argument.
Pricey.
It is pricey. So you'll have to guess higher or lower, and it's pretty easy because I've given you a high one there with John Cleese.
Yep.
But what do you think? Ricky Tomlinson, Jim from the Royal Family, of course. Do you think he's higher or lower?
I'm gonna say lower. Definitely.
You're going to say lower. It's a safe bet, isn't it?
It is.
Would you like to have a guess at how much Ricky is?
I would say I'm just going to go for around £100.
£100?
Not around £100. Around £100.
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, you're still way off, to be honest.
All right.
100 quid my arse. It's 45 quid for Ricky.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you having that one, Dave? So there you go. There's Ricky now. It gets harder from now on, okay?
Okay, right.
The next one, and we've got to work out if this is higher or lower than 45 quid a throw, is the lovely Sue Holderness from Dear John, and more famously from Only Fools and Horses, where she played Marlene. You thought I was going to do it, didn't you?
I was ready for it then. I was ready for it. I'm going to say lower. I'm going to say that Sue Holderness is lower than Ricky Gervais. No, not Ricky Gervais.
Done.
Ricky Tomlinson.
No, she'd definitely be lower than Gervais. You got it right. She's only 35 quid a throw.
I was thinking £35. I was thinking that would be a fair punt.
And she'll sing you I've looked at a few of hers. They're a bit cringe. She'll sing you happy birthday and invite you down a Nag's Head with all the boys.
Oh, bless her. Okay.
A little sing song.
Yeah.
So there you go. You're doing well. The next one, we're back to the Royal Family. Ralph Little. Is he from Bolton? He sounds a bit Bolton.
I think he was from Berry went to Bolton School. I think he lived sort of like in between Bolton and Berry.
So Ralph, he's on there. Is he higher or lower than 35? Higher than 35
I think he's
quid?
higher, yeah. Slightly.
Well, I think Ralph's on the bone of his arse because he's willing to knock one out for 19 quid.
No.
19 quid for Ralph.
Okay.
Although we should say at this point, actually, that a lot of these celebs are donating their fees to the Ukraine relief at this point.
Right.
So maybe he's on offer, is Ralph.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just being philanthropist.
I saw something the other day where he was in Runcorn. I think it was on TikTok. He was in Runcorn and sort of like leading people to believe that there might be another 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps being made, perhaps.
All right.
Don't
they regularly trot out that teaser like year after year after year?
Oh, do they? Maybe I'm just...
I can't see Sheridan Smith lowering herself, can you?
No, she's like...
These days.
Yeah, I bet she's not charging £19, is she?
Well, actually, I'll have a quick break from the higher or lower, and I'll ask you this question. This is independent of higher or lower, but how much do you think Olivia Colman is charging?
Oh. Oscar winner.
Was it Oscar or was it a Brit?
No, it wasn't a Brit. Them are singers, aren't they? Do you mean a BAFTA? I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go to 100 because obviously Ricky Tomlinson was nowhere near that, and 100 is obviously. So
you basically think the economy of scale is lower for these, than you might have thought. Well, you're well under because she's 750 quid.
No way.
You've got to have a real hard on for Olivia Colman to pay 750.
That is a lot of money.
It is. I mean, and again, she's donating a lot, if not all of it, I think, to Ukrainian relief efforts. But 750 subs, bloody hell. Anyway, that was independent. You've not lost anything there.
Blimey, I'm not very good at this game.
You got 2 right out of 3.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Well, no. Oh, okay. I'm better than I thought.
They are absolutely safe. You got that on your BFH.
Okay.
So, Ralph Little was 19 quid.
Right.
Higher or lower, Norman Lovett, who was Holly in Red Dwarf.
I'm going to go against my gut feeling and say lower.
Oh, you should have gone with your gut feeling. Norman is a notoriously tight and bad-tempered man.
Yeah.
And he's therefore... Well, I don't think the bad temper's got anything to do with it, but his fondness for cash means he is asking a ludicrous 64 quid.
Right, okay.
Norman Lovett, 64 quid. I can't believe that.
Wow.
Just a couple left for you then, okay. So, I think you've got, 2 out of 4 now. So, 64 quid, higher or lower, Leslie Joseph, who was Dorian in Birds of a Feather.
Lower. 50 quid.
You're quite close, 40 quid.
Okay, yeah.
40 quid.
I think that's quite a reasonable figure.
Yeah, to get her to say something flirtatious.
Yeah.
Yeah, batter eyelids at you and show a bit of cleavage, probably.
Yeah.
I didn't actually check out any of Dorian's. But I did check out the next one, which was Ted Robbins.
Okay.
Den Perry, the fat pig. So, I clicked on the first one to see what it said, and he's looking off camera and he went, and I have warned you, she has got a cock.
Oh my God. Oh, I think higher than 35 quid.
No, it's 40 quid for Leslie Joseph.
Oh, right. In my head, it was 35. Okay, let's go. I still think higher.
Still think higher.
Yeah.
Ted Robbins, cousin of Paul McCartney, of course. You can get a personalised message from that man for 22 of your English pounds.
Can you really? Oh, so he's more in the arena of Ralph Little then.
It seems all the Phoenix Nights ones are dirt cheap. You can get Archie Kelly, who did Kenny Senior, to tell you a load of lies for 25 quid. And you can get Neil Fitzmaurice, who was Ray Vaughan, and also Jeff in Peep Show for 30 quid. So there we go. I think you got 4 out of 7.
Oh, that's all right, isn't it? Over half marks.
I think. Yeah, that's not bad. Well, it's just a 50-50 game, isn't it, really? Who knows?
Of course it is. Exactly.
Because, it's all based on their own self-worth, a lot of these prices, aren't they?
That's it, isn't it? I think Ralph Little's really underselling himself for £19. Although he's giving it all, maybe it would encourage more people to do it because it means it's all going to a good cause.
Maybe. I mean, there's some curious ones on there, like that guy who plays Mr. Big in Sex and the City who's been accused of all sorts of things. He's on there for like 250 quid, and I'm like, who's getting that now?
Oh, dear me.
You know what I mean? A lot of the American ones are very pricey.
Yeah.
John McGinley, Dr. Cox, £305. Nick Frost's on there, 188 quid. Norm from Cheers, 94 quid. You can get... sorry, I got really obsessed with this.
Yeah.
You can get Melora Hardin, Jan from The Office, £375.
I hope I get a free candle with that. That's what? That is extortionate.
You get a free vasectomy and a vasectomy reversal.
Snip, snap.
So there you go. Shall we get stuck into the episode?
Let's do it.
Dear John, by the time you read these lines, I'll be gone. Life goes on, right or wrong. Now it's all been said and done, dear John. Seems we've sung love's last song, dear John.
So it's a new series and a new opening credit sequence, Al.
Yes, it threw me a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know why they did it, because it wasn't strictly necessary. I thought the opening credits of the first series told the story quite well, but this is a bit more abstract. It's all like set against a white screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
We see Wendy unsheath the pen and write a letter, and then she leaves a wedding ring. And then John comes in and reads it, and then notices a one-to-one club ad in the paper. But the first series did all that in actual settings, whereas this one, he just seemed to be in like the equivalent of a green screen, but it was a white screen.
Yeah. Do you think it was just to sort of remind you? Let's just remind the viewers what the story's about.
Well, perhaps, but the episode itself starts with like 5 minutes of recap that wasn't really necessary, because John, when the episode starts, he's on the phone to Wendy using a phone at a public train station, and they're talking about Toby's schooling situation. And they're having this sort of debate about whether to tell the truth for the school interview. And John, he's not comfortable with whatever Wendy's asking, but he makes his excuses because he's got to go and catch a train.
Yeah.
And then you get like his inner monologue kicks in, and the exposition's there about Wendy wanting him to lie about their being divorced to get Toby into the better school. And he says to himself, I never lie, which is a lie.
He's lying about lying.
I know. He's a pretty deluded man.
He is.
But you see, all this rumination and monologuing nearly makes him miss his train, doesn't it? And he sort of just gets on it in the nick of time, like Indiana Jones style, doesn't he?
He does.
Behind him.
Slides through the doors, yeah.
And then when he's on the tube, he's just sort of standing in a throng of commuters who are staring blankly into space. And his inner monologue's continuing, giving us this recap of all the central characters of the show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really necessary, was it?
It was like literally to set up the start of a new series in case we'd forgot. But it was unnecessary, yeah.
I felt it was a bit unnecessary because he's just stood there. This scene goes on about 3 minutes, and you just hear his monologue. Oh, I'm off to the one-to-one club on a Friday night. And, you know, Kirk the Burke and Ralph will be there, and Mrs. Arnott in a hat.
Yeah.
And he lists all the characters, and I'm like, yeah, I think we know John. I think we know him. But there you go. I mean, why didn't the BBC just repeat the first series before showing the second series?
yeah. Just as a definite reminder, yeah.
You know when you get in the train, you're rushing for a train in London. It's not like everywhere else, is it? It's not like Bolton when you go, driver, wait a minute, driver. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I got me shopping. You're getting on the train or you're going to get trapped in the door. And when I used to follow Everton home and away, I used to go down. And the Scousers would always make me laugh, going, "Hold that train, lads!"
Never.
There's this fella trying to hold the door open for all his mates on the tube. You're not used to that London, are you, mate? Anyway, so John's on the tube, and then he's getting a bit maudlin, actually, lamenting to himself why he ever got divorced, isn't he? And he's blaming Wendy, which is quite fair. And he says, he doesn't say it, he thinks, I've never been unfaithful to anyone. And I'm one of life's good guys, model parent, hardworking, conscientious, very responsible person, which I think he is a good egg, although I know you started to have these doubts in recent weeks. All this, he's feeling a bit sorry for himself, I think, but he's saying, I always obey the rules and I follow the country code and everything. And he says,
this is brilliant.
I even carry a condom with me at all times because Claire Rayner says I should. And I didn't get that reference. Was there some sort of advert on, was there?
I think it was a big thing around this time. I think there was a big push on safe sex because it was like around the time of
AIDS and stuff,
becoming in part of the public consciousness. I think Claire Rayner was like at the forefront of, which she always was, of like safe sex and chatting openly about using condoms. But I did like the fact that he said, I carry a condom around with me at all times, next to my donor card. But I wonder which one I'll use first.
Yeah, that was a good line.
Brilliant.
I don't remember that advert. I remember an advert for the sanitary pads with wings.
With wings,
yeah.
She was at the forefront of that as well. Yeah, I loved Claire Rayner. I thought she was sort of made it possible to talk about things like this, and for it not to be like a dirty secret that you can't talk about with other people.
I'll have to see if I can dig out that video then on YouTube or something and share it. Is it just Claire Rayner saying, "Wear a nodder"?
It might have just been on like, like Pebble Mill at 1, that kind of show, some kind of magazine, TV
fuck
show.
Me. She didn't get like a cucumber and show you how to put it on over it, did she?
Do you know what? I don't know. I'm not going to say no because I'm guessing at some point that's probably been a thing that she's done on like live TV with Richard Madeley. Oh my God! Can you imagine a worse combination?
Yeah. Richard Madeley's favourite, everyone says he's Alan Partridge and he thinks that's...
Yeah.
He said, oh, no, that's just what people say. I think people overplay that. But when you read some of the things he said, the worst one, when he said to someone who was anorexic, who was like, I don't know, 5.5 stone, he went, well, that's concentration camp thin, that is. And like, you can't say that to someone, you fucking lunatic.
Oh, my God.
He's such a tit, isn't he?
But Claire Rayner, yay, she was a goodie.
Claire Rayner, yay. Richard Madeley, nay.
No.
His thoughts are interrupted as he realises he's nearing his station and he blurts out, excuse me, this is my condom, to a passenger as he bustles past. And with that scene settler that was hardly needed out of the way,
yes,
we cut to the club where Louise is on the blower, isn't she?
Yes, Mrs. Arnott's going to be late.
Yeah. Mrs. Arnott's telling her she's got to look after a neighbour or something.
I read into this that the neighbour, was it the neighbour's son that she had to look after? Because the neighbour, she'd been accosted on the train by some degenerate spouting obscenities. Was that John? I
think it was supposed to be, yeah.
Is that supposed to be John? Right,
because you did see a woman looking a bit sort of shocked, but all he did was say condom. I mean, it's a bit OTT, isn't it? Do you think
not everyone's Claire Rayner, though. We're not all as forward-thinking as Claire Rayner, perhaps, at the time.
Yeah, maybe.
She was probably very shocked at the thought of condoms.
Maybe it was Mary Whitehouse.
It was, probably.
Men can be such brutes.
Louise says to Mrs. Arnott, she's got a new member coming that evening, and that men are far more of a challenge because they hide the truth behind their egos, protect their pride with a burst of prevarication, and gird their loins with plausibility.
It's very Louise, that, isn't it?
It is, but the way she delivers it is excellent.
It is.
It's a strong episode for Louise's psychobabble. This one.
It is, and I tried to sort of listen in on to what she was saying rather than just letting the word salad just like flow over me. I thought I'm just going to listen, and it's actually really interesting, some of the stuff that she comes out with. But I can imagine the one-to-one club, it just literally washes over them as they go, "What? I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, and she's clearly got the ego herself, whereby she's playing up to the sort of faux intellectual thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
She's not making it clear when she's talking in these riddles. She's, if anything, she's overcomplicating it.
Yeah, it's a very elitist way of talking to a group of people, I think.
Very Thatcher.
Yeah.
She hangs up on Mrs. Arnott with a super chow. See you when you make it, dear. And then Kate arrives with a bob. She's wearing a bob. She's got her hair done.
She's got a bob. She has.
Yep, she's caught up with the fashions of 1987.
It felt more reminiscent of a character in 2.4 children, 2.3 children.
2.4 children, yeah.
Just lopped an arm off then, sorry. 2.4 children. It was more, she looked more recognisable.
That was her look in that whole run of 6 or 7 series, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Louise tells Kate that Mrs. Arnott's running late because of this situation with the neighbour. And Kate's clearly lost none of her feistiness from Series 1 to Series 2 because she has a good rant and overreaction about this situation and the need, about men and the need to protect women better, which is all valid, but she's so angry.
It is. Very acerbic, isn't it?
She is, yeah. She's definitely carrying more than one chip on her shoulder about her previous relationships and the failings of men in her life, I think. And then we get Sylvia arrive, who in this series becomes a cast regular.
Oh.
Do you not like Sylvia?
I just find her irritating.
Because of the laugh. And
I think I'm supposed to find her irritating, I know. But she laughing like a seal at everything. Shut up.
Hi! Yeah. Well, she does arrive with that usual OTT laugh, and Kate and Louise go and make their excuses and actually have a bit of a bitch about the annoying laugh and what hard work she is. So you're right, she is supposed to be annoying, but she's a sweet and lovely person underneath all of that. Yeah. And I think the upshot is that it transpires she's moved from the Wednesday night group to the Friday night group because somebody in the Wednesday night group tried to mow her down in the car park twice. So yes, I think we are supposed to find her annoying. Clearly the Wednesday night mob did, if they tried to murder her.
If they tried to run her over, it's obviously just the way she is, isn't it?
But if we were to think that Sylvia is the eponymous new member of this episode, we would be mistaken, because back in the one-to-one meeting room, Tosh from the Bill saunters in, doesn't he?
He does. Wow. He's a vision in double denim.
Double denim and Elvis sideburns.
Wow. Yeah, he's a complete mix-up of themes.
Yeah.
Fashion themes, isn't he?
Yeah, double denim's a strange look for a faded 60s rock star, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what they're going for with the way he looked, but you maybe talk more about that in Fashion Corner. But
yeah,
he's talking about his roadies and a concern over his attendance being leaked to the press, and Sylvia doesn't know what the hell he's on about.
Yeah.
And she says, are you somebody then? Which I quite like the wording of that. It's like, are you actually somebody of import?
Are you actually somebody?
Unlike the usual shower of cretins who turn up. And he says, see if this jogs your memory, before singing that dreadful lyric and doing a proper dad jig to accompany it.
Yeah. For someone that's supposed to have been a big star, he didn't really have much rhythm or
talent.
Voice. Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's just really cringe. But again, it's supposed to be. He's incredulous that she doesn't remember him from that. And he says, I'm Ricky Fortune from Ricky Fortune and the Fortunates.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't know who he is. And then John arrives and Sylvia greets him very enthusiastically. I think maybe she's still carrying a flame for John. Possibly,
yeah. She just lets out a really high-pitched squeal, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, I think she still likes John. And then Ricky Fortune repeats his god-awful song in front of John saying, yes, it is me.
Oh.
Tragic.
Yuck.
But John's bafflement is expertly delivered by Ralph Bates, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
He's like, his mouth's sort of just opening and shutting, and then he starts to say something, he doesn't know what to say, and he just stands up and leaves, bewildered, doesn't he?
He says, I knew I shouldn't have come out tonight.
Any sexual problems?
Ralph's talking about philosophy and how he thinks that Louise is good at talking about it. But he didn't really believe it. But then he's been out and bought a book about existentialism.
Yeah.
Which is a very un-Ralph thing to do, I think, isn't it?
This is where Kirk says, Ralphie, why don't you call me? I know a builder. Which is, a little bit clumsy. We get it. He thinks he wanted an extension, but yeah. Mm-hmm. But Ralph's had this epiphany, hasn't he, after doing the study, and he's contemplated his being and probed his psyche and ferreted around his subconscious. So I'm quite pleased for Ralph that he's started looking at being introspective.
Absolutely. It seems like a bit of a switch in sort of character, doesn't it?
It does, but Louise actually wisely counsels him that too much self-analysis and too little learning can be a bad thing, which is true. You know, navel-gazing is...
Yeah.
That is a pitfall of modern talking therapies, isn't it? That you'll just end up, woe betide me.
Yeah, and not doing much about it.
Contemplation minus interpretation leads to an introspective and sterile philosophy devoid of a perceptual and conceptual synthesis. Postulation denied interpolation plus discursive reasoning equals a polarization of the subconscious antecedent.
I think it goes deeper than that, Louise.
I love that line.
Yeah.
John gets testy and asks Louise to hurry things up. He says that Ralph's been playing around with his inner self and he's old enough to know better. He's just getting a bit bored, isn't he, I think?
Yeah.
And I think that his patience is being tried by Louise's sort of kind of showing off with her pop psychiatry.
Yeah.
And Louise, at this point, she introduces Ricky formally to the group. And after a little more psychobabble, she actually invites Ricky to take the floor. So this is where Kevin Lloyd sort of stands up and he says, "You obviously all know who I am, but I'll go through the formalities." He's really not getting the fact that his fame was fleeting and...
No, nobody has a clue.
He's not full of self-awareness, this man. And to be fair to him, he's immediately very open and sharing with the group because he tells the tale of how he and his wife split 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And he says all his friends were embarrassed and really pig ignorant and they wouldn't allow him to talk to them about what he was going through. And he said, "This is the first opportunity I've had." And I thought, that's another sign of that stigmatization in the 80s, that we've had with alcoholism and other things.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
Yeah, bury your feelings, don't talk about it because it'll make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I felt bad for Ricky the Pillock at this point. Did you?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I thought he's there with a purpose. He's there to actually get some kind of help into the encounter group.
And Louise actually points out to him something about stripping away his ego and his idea of self-importance, which again I thought was quite insightful,
Yeah, definitely.
He says he was married at a Druid wedding ceremony at Stonehenge, but the marriage didn't last, and it shouldn't have surprised him. How many marriages last in show business?
That's true.
And then the group visibly perk up at this, don't they? Because they're like, "Oh, he's famous." And to me, based on his behaviour to that point, it should have been fairly obvious that the guy thought he was a known figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show business? You're in show business?
Yeah, I've been in the business most of my adult life.
Have you ever been on television?
Yeah, lots of times.
I thought I recognised you. Didn't you used to play the curb crawler in Sesame Street?
Yeah, they're all like suddenly excited apart from Kirk, who looks noticeably peeved at the idea there's a bigger fish in the room than he is.
The attention that this man's going to get, that he's taking it away from him. But it turns out that Rick was big in Iceland.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Kirk says, well, first of all, Kirk says, "Were you the curb crawler in Sesame Street?" Was there a curb crawler in Sesame Street? I wouldn't have thought so, would you?
No, I don't think there was. That's a bit clumsy, isn't it?
Is he getting mixed up?
Maybe.
But then he says, "Well, I've never heard of you." And then Kate's sort of mocking him and says, "You've never heard of Sesame Street until your remedial reading classes." And Kirk challenges, says, "All right, Tiger, have you heard of him?" And she has to admit that she hasn't either, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like anyone in the group has heard of Ricky. And as you say, this is where he says, "Well, I went to number 1 in Iceland."
In Iceland. John says that he was one of the biggest fans and he had all the albums, which again it just contradicts him not being a liar. He was insistent earlier on in this episode that he wasn't a liar, and now I suppose this is kind of like white lies, isn't it, to make somebody feel more comfortable and make them feel better. But he gets himself into a pickle by lying. There was no need.
No, most of his lies are harmless. The only person they ever hurt usually is him. Because it comes back on him.
Yeah.
Like I say, I think he's a good, empathetic man, and he's trying to make the guy feel better because he looks crestfallen.
Yeah.
But he overshoots it because rather than just saying, "Oh, I remember you, yeah, you were good," he's like, "I've got all your records." I mean, why would you say that? You're going to be quizzed on it. Because
Kirk says that he doesn't believe John, and says, John's a goody-goody teacher, and he makes Joe 90 look sleazy. Despite the fact that when Kurt asked John to get him a date with Kate, he nearly slept with her.
Yeah.
So
that's quickly been forgotten.
It has, hasn't it?
Well, Ralph's saying, "Well, this band are very popular in Iceland," and Kirk says, "Well, so are skis." Kirk asks John. He says, "All right, then, what's your favourite record?" And obviously he's struggling.
No. Yeah.
Kirk's humiliating Ricky, really.
Yes.
Because he's threatened by him. So Louise quickly brings the meeting to a close as it's gone 9. So she says, I think we best finish here. And that's where Mrs. Arnhem bursts in late. And she sees Tosh, Ricky, and she says, "Oh, Ricky!" Like some prototype Bianca Jackson.
I loved this.
She's so excited, bless her. And then so's Ricky. He's made up that someone actually knows him.
Yeah. What a cutie. I like Mrs. Arnott.
I'm sorry I'm late, everybody. I had to look after my neighbour.
So we cut to the pub, and Ricky is still sort of bearing his soul to the group, and this now includes an enraptured Mrs. Arnott who's hanging off every word with one of her cocktail, as usual.
It really made me laugh, this, because Tosh was talking about his relationship, and Mrs. Arnott asks, but what about your fan club? Because obviously she thinks he must have like thousands of women throwing themselves at him. And Kirk says they were all wiped out in a tandem crash. Which I thought was a great line.
Yeah, Kirk's teasing this guy mercilessly.
Yeah.
Well, Louise is still kind of orientating Ricky about the group and talking about the social side of the club, isn't she?
Yes, yeah.
She says, you will have fun. And Kate says, honestly, it's a laugh a month.
Louise is really annoyed at that as well. She looks really cross.
Yeah, I think she takes some great pride in her role as facilitator.
Yeah.
But then she says, we used to do walking holidays until one member was knocked off Scarfell Pike.
We used to organise walking holidays in the Lake District until we had a very unfortunate incident 3,000 feet up Scarfell Pike. One of our members was accidentally knocked over the edge.
You mean they were killed?
Oh, no. You weren't hurt, were you, dear?
Cuts, bruises and shock, that's all.
She managed to hang on to a twig until the helicopter arrived.
And Louise got it on cinefilm, and she must show it at one of the meetings.
Well, already we can see that Sylvia's role now is kind of to become the butt of Louise's jokes.
Yes.
I think in a future episode you see Louise tease a story out of Sylvia under the pretense that it will do Sylvia good, but really it's just like, oh, this is a belter, you've got to hear this.
Just so they can piss take, yeah.
So for all of her psychobabble, she really just likes the salacious gossip and stories.
Well, that's the kind of guy I am.
At the bar, Ralph asked John if he'd really heard of Ricky Fortune and the Fortunates, and John admits that he hadn't. And Ralph says, I thought so. And this is where John's saying he has trouble telling lies. So maybe saying, I tell them, but they're not convincing.
Yeah. Yeah. And he does say that he did it to get Ricky out of the hole because Kirk was being mean to him, which is quite... I don't know, it's come from the right place, hasn't it? It's come from a good place, but like you say, any lies that he tells just seem to make his life worse. Yeah,
I think he is just bad at it. I mean, like you say, the embellishment that he had all the records was unnecessary and digging himself deeper into a hole. So John explains about this Catholic school situation to Ralph, that he's trying to get Toby in and he's not comfortable lying, but Wendy wants him to lie and blah, blah, blah. And he says, well, Wendy wants me to pretend I'm still married to her. He says to Ralph, would you do it? And Ralph says, oh, I don't know. I've never met your wife. Again, Ralph Bates' reaction as John. He's a brilliant reactor.
Yeah, he is. Yes.
So at this point, Kate and Ralph and Louise, Sylvia and Kirk, they all leave sort of independently, I think.
Yeah.
And we're just left with John, Mrs. Arnott and Ricky. Ricky asked John if he really remembered him and if he really bought all of his records. And John says, yes, I did, Thankfully, he isn't quizzed on that any further.
Yeah, thank God, yeah.
And then he leaves doing that embarrassing 60s shuffle again on his way out, which just...
Yeah.
Oh, I find him really annoying. I don't mind that actor, but I just find the character really cringe and pathetic and...
It's irritating, isn't it? Yeah.
Cringe comedy almost, which, as I said before, is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So we cut after that to the Catholic school interview, and there's this sort of scary-looking nun looking suspiciously at John and Wendy straight from the off, isn't there?
Yeah.
And there's a priest/head teacher. I can't really decide what he is.
I think they would have been the same thing, probably.
Would they? That's not normal, though. I mean, going to a Catholic school myself. You get convent schools, but you rarely see a priest who's the teacher as well, because priests are far more important than men. You know what I mean?
So why would the priest be doing the interview then?
I don't know. I think it was written by a man who doesn't know a lot about Catholicism, because they also refer to the Mother Superior as mother. You know the way a priest gets referred to as father?
Yeah.
But Mother Superiors don't get called mother, I don't think.
Okay.
I stand to be corrected, but I think it was just a little bit of ignorance on behalf of John Sullivan, possibly.
Okay, right.
So there's a bit of preamble and some small talk about rugby between the priest stroke head teacher and John. And it sort of seems to all to be going well. And he says that he thinks Toby would fit in well at the school. He asks them why they want Toby to go to St. Bede's. Mm. And Wendy confesses that it's principally the school's reputation, which I actually admired her for because she's being honest. Why not?
Yeah, good answer.
And when the priest asks whether they as parents would be willing to get involved in the school community, John says, yeah, I've got plenty of free time, except for Fridays when I go to the divinity class. He sort of does a nice save, doesn't he? Just about.
He does. The priest and the nun love it, though, don't they? They're, like, well happy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He sort of cocks it up again then, because he says he spends most of his evenings in his flat, in Wendy's house. And the nun says, Wendy's house? He says, oh, Wendy house. In the garden, we have a Wendy house.
It just gets worse.
Oh, yes, we encourage the parents to take part in the school's extracurricular activities, PTA meetings, fundraising, and so forth. Unless, of course, your time is already taken up with social and community pastimes.
No, plenty of free time. On Fridays, I do go to divinity club. But the rest of the week, I'm free.
A divinity class, did you hear that, Father?
I most certainly did. So, if we need anything, always assuming young Toby's accepted, of course.
Of course.
We'll know where to contact you.
Yes, I spend most evenings in my flat. In Wendy's house.
Wendy's house?
A Wendy house. In the garden, we have a Wendy house.
And most evenings, you're in it.
It's suddenly sort of disintegrated into a John Gordon Sinclair farce comedy, hasn't it?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yeah.
A Wendy house, and in the evenings you're in it. Yeah, I keep rabbits in the Wendy house. It's just,
Yeah.
not convincing. But he seems to have saved himself again until right at the end when the priest asks for the paperwork. And in pulling the paperwork out of his wallet, of course, his condom that he mentioned right at the start falls out on the desk. It's a Durex Featherlight, which I was actually surprised to see existed in the 80s. So there you go. And it just falls out.
He says, Claire Rayner says. Love it.
And that's the end of the episode.
Seems we've sung love's last song, dear John.
I thought that was quite a big topic for the 80s, for the mid-80s.
The contraception thing.
Contraception, safe sex, AIDS. I think that was quite topical and quite...
They didn't really go near AIDS, though, really, did they?
There was an AIDS poster.
Oh, was there?
On the wall. Yeah. Was there an AIDS poster? Or have I just made that up?
Where?
In the one-to-one club in the community centre before they go in.
Yeah.
In the corridor. I'm sure there was an AIDS poster on the wall.
Ooh, that would definitely be a bric-a-brac spotlight.
Well, there was an AA poster. There was an Alcoholics Anonymous poster. And there was another poster underneath. I think it was an AIDS poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely wouldn't have been in the school then, would it?
No, it wasn't. No, in a Catholic school on the wall. In the vestry.
I remember going into at my granddad's funeral. We were at that funeral and it was at a Catholic church, and then we went to the Catholic Social Club. And you know the way Ali's got a really quiet voice most of the time?
Yeah.
Except when she shouldn't.
Right.
When she should have a quiet voice. And she decided she wanted to buy some condoms. And she's like, they've got no condoms. And I said, no, it's a Catholic Social Club. So did you actually, on the subject of bric-a-brac, did you spot any other pieces of bric-a-brac in this episode?
It was definitely an AIDS poster, because I've got it on my list here for bric-a-brac.
Okay.
So yeah, and I thought it was quite a topical thing, and just interesting, because I think the BBC do that quite often. Even now, they sort of, some might call it woke, others might call it just being at the forefront of promoting things that need to be promoted, perhaps. So yeah, I noticed that. My other bric-a-brac was the mention of, it's not an item though, it doesn't matter though, does it?
Oh, go on.
Just the mention of clunk, click, every trip.
Oh yeah.
And I know I'm paddling into muddy waters there with the connection with Jimmy Savile. But yeah, it's of a time, isn't it? Cult Click every trip.
Was that him, was it? I didn't remember it as being him.
Yeah.
One of his hiding in plain sight things, I guess.
Yeah.
Such a good guy. The other bric-a-brac I got was the pump in the pub for Skull.
Oh, skull.
Why aren't you singing? I don't know the words. Yeah, I used to like a pint of Skull. Although in hindsight it was probably piss.
Yeah.
What about MVP this week? Did you get one?
I think my MVP this week is Ralph.
Okay.
Just for no other reason apart from the fact that he seems to be finding use of the one-to-one club and bettering himself by going to the one-to-one club. It seems to be something that is helping him to become a better Ralph.
I have got exactly the same answer. And this is Ralph's first 2 MVPs, which is amazing, really.
Oh, double whammy. Well done, Ralph.
You would have thought he'd have got one for the episode where he was daddling Darren, but I don't think he did.
No, I don't think he did.
The only other contender for me was John for pretending to remember Ricky's band, but he made such a pig's ear of it.
He did, yeah. Yeah, beyond that, definitely Ralph.
Do you know what? I wonder why Wendy didn't just take Mike to that. I mean, I know it's that type of thing that we always say, like, yeah, then you haven't got a situation for the comedy in the situation comedy. But
yeah,
she could have just took Mike and pretended it was Toby's dad, and then, job's a good one.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because then they're not married, and are they just setting themselves up for further down the line and lies and trying to keep up pretense? What if Mike leaves her, or what if she leaves Mike and then he's disappeared? And
again, I don't think it was actually that big such a deal. I was in this period. I would have been going to church every week, Catholic church, as a 11-year-old or whatever.
Right. 10
or 11-year-old. There were divorced people there. It wasn't such a big deal, But maybe it differed from parish to parish. It depends how old school your priest was.
Yeah.
Don't know. But I used to, I wasn't really a very great Catholic, really. I remember getting involved in, I got involved in Amnesty International at one point as a kid.
While still being a Catholic?
Well, why? The two wouldn't be mutually exclusive, would they?
I don't see them both fitting within the same sort of parameters, perhaps.
Well, I don't know if there was any conflict there, but I know that the Amnesty lot and probably the Catholic lot either wouldn't have agreed with my somewhat extreme 11-year-old views, because we were put in, there was like a youth amnesty group, and we were given like ethics situations to discuss. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously it was all about prisoners of conscience, and I used to write letters to them. And there was like a situation where, I don't know, I can't remember the specifics, but let's say, what should happen to someone who mugs a pensioner and beats up a pensioner for their pension or something? And I'd be
okay.
And you get all these young, sort of earnest, do-gooder kids type of thing, with good hearts. Some of them, again, religious, sort of saying, well, they should be rehabilitated or they should be punished, but they should be made to understand the repercussions of their actions. And they come to me, I was like, harvest their organs. There's people out there need livers and kidneys. I remember the leader of the group was just like, Jesus, what have we got here?
Yeah.
I didn't go back. I don't think I was invited back. I'm not that extreme anymore. I don't want to harvest the organs of mothers anymore.
No, that is extreme.
And yeah, I was very black and white as a kid. Not very tolerant.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we have a trip to Fashion Corner?
Let's do that.
Whatever happened to those clothes we wore? It seems we never wear those clothes no more. Fashion Corner.
This week I've got there's lots of green again. I'm sorry. I'll just preface this Fashion Corner with that mention. However, we start off with Louise this week, who, when she's on the telephone early on in the episode to Mrs. Arnott, she's in a red and white striped, open-necked, collared blouse, and I thought it was really pretty. I didn't want to mention weight, because I don't like, it's none of my business, somebody else's weight, but it looked like the actor, she'd lost a bit of weight between series, perhaps, So the look of the top, it just looked, I don't know, a little bit different on her. I don't know. She had a massive collection of gold jewellery on as well, and it's jewellery that I remember my mum wearing. So like a chokery, thick gold necklace, earrings. We're moving more towards the 90s, the look of like the 90s clothes, I think. And I know we've not moved on much, it's only like a year, but I feel like there's been a bit of a slight shift.
Okay.
Kate is in like a ditzy floral blouse shirt. The haircut that we mentioned earlier is quite significant because it's in the more of the bob shape that we recognise from the actor in the 1990s in 2.4 Children, which I think that was the thing that made me feel like we'd moved on a little bit. And we've seen it from like the 70s when we started with The Good Life in the mid-70s. I think we've seen that shift, especially with the women and their fashion sort of throughout the decades that we've looked at so far. Sylvia, quite green. Pastel sage in a collared blouse and skirt. She had some wonderful 1980s Dynasty shoulder pads. Very sticky outy, obvious shoulder pads, and costume jewellery, like a beaded necklace. Again, she had the kind of beaded necklace that Louise had on. Ricky Fortune? Yeah. Tosh. Yep. Double snow washed denim. Not just any old denim, it was snow washed. That very, very pale denim look.
With his t-shirt tucked into his jeans.
Yeah.
Which is obviously an 80s thing.
Oh, jacket, the jeans, a white striped, open-necked, I think it was like a grandad collar. You know, like when there's no collar, it's just like a little sticky up collar. Just horrible. Horrible. But I can imagine former stars from like the 60s and 70s. I can imagine that being like a costume in the 80s. I'm thinking like Status Quo. I'm thinking those that have had like major fame earlier. That seems to be quite fitting of what someone in that position might have worn. Trying to look still relevant.
It's interesting the choices they made around him. I mean, those big mutton chops that he had, the bugger's grips.
Yeah.
They were like very Elvis.
Yeah. Bit dated.
As if to denote from a different time.
Yeah, it's not really an 80s look, really, is it?
But the guy clearly lives in the past, so maybe that's what they were sort of, intimating.
What they were going for. Mrs. Arnott, very green. Dark moss green cardigan, one of her felt hats, and a sage pussy bow blouse. I think we've said in the past that she's perhaps taken on the fashion ideals of Louise with these blouses. She might have had one of these blouses on right at the beginning, I can't remember. But
she definitely did in one of... Yeah, you mentioned her wearing a pussy blow.
Yeah.
Pussy blow? Pussy what?
A pussy blow. Oh. Blouse. Wendy. Stupid Wendy. Shiny, pale pink and blue checked suit. I thought it was white initially. But on closer inspection, it's more of a pale pink and blue check, quite large check suit, and a white blouse and a crucifix, the Crawley Bumlick, because she obviously wanted to look good for the priest and the nun. The stupid Wendy. Yep, that's everything for Fashion Corner this week.
Talking about the priest, he had a pair of Dennis Taylor glasses on, didn't he?
He did indeed, yes.
His upside-down glasses.
Them. They're a bit weird as well.
I think they're a bit serial killery.
Do you think?
Yeah.
You wouldn't just wear them for your eyesight, would you? You wouldn't just wear them for going out.
Well, they also make me think of that character from the Fast Show, the zany office guy.
Right.
With the curly hair, who was always trying to be a character.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Dennis Taylor was in Snooker, wasn't he? He was the zany character.
Crazy me.
Yeah. Like Timmy Mallet of Snooker.
Yeah.
Imagine he'd come out instead of using a cue and he used a big fucking hammer. Oh, mad me.
You're a lunatic person. They should put you in a home for fruitcase people.
You can follow us at SADDO Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, where we post rare photos and videos on Dear John, Fawlty Towers and The Good Life and more. We have a Facebook page you can find by searching SADDO Podcast, and we also have a growing Facebook group that you can join and contribute to with discussions and memes and rarities that you might find yourself. This is where we post the episodes we deep dive each week, and for now it might be the only place where you can catch Dear John. Subscribe to our newsletter as well by visiting our website saddo.club, where you can also get more information about us, read our blog, shout us a coffee, and listen to episodes if you don't do podcast apps. Get in touch, email us at saddopodcast@gmail.com, and subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. So next week we're on episode 2 of the second series. Do you know what it's called, Ben?
I think it's called Confidence. I've got written down here Confidence. And I think it's mainly about Ricky's confidence coming back, because he's, again, in this episode, he's just in 2.
Okay.
Thankfully. No more than that. And I watched it fairly recently, this episode, and it's a bit of a slog, I'll have to be honest. It's probably the weakest of them all, but still some good gags in it. Still some funny parts. So, yeah, we'll deconstruct it next week and try and not be too harsh on it.
Okay.
So we'll see you then next week for Series 2, Episode 2, Confidence. I'll see thee.
See you then.
Dear John, by the time you read these lines, I'll be gone. Life goes on. Right or wrong, now it's all been said and done, dear John. Seems we've sung love's last song, dear John.